This is Revival X with John Burton.
Hey, this is John Burton with the Revival X podcast. How are you doing today? We just got back from a nearly 3-week trip, and we're going to be talking about the need for pastors to be strongly encouraged to take lots of breaks, lots of vacations, lots of moments and seasons of refreshing. And I know for some people out there, they would argue, well, why should you have more vacations maybe than the regular person? What about me? And so we're going to look at this. We went to a retreat center in Colorado, in the Colorado Springs area, up in Divide, Colorado. Name of it is Sunscape Retreats, and I encourage you to check it out, Sonscape Retreat Center. And incredible, just amazing, beautiful. Wow, was it beautiful with the snow and the crisp air. And we had the most incredible week there. You know, we spent some other time before the retreat to visit friends in Denver and visit family in Colorado Springs and do some different things. But during this retreat, it was very clear to me that regular times of refreshing for pastors is extremely important. Now, you may or may not have heard that the job of pastor is one of the most difficult jobs in the world. And it's interesting that that's the case because most people have a difficult time understanding that. They don't see it. They don't get it. Why would that type of a job be so challenging, in comparison to some other jobs that are truly, incredibly difficult? You can think of maybe emergency room doctors or EMTs or, any number of professions. You can look it up and see maybe what are the top 50 most stressful professions out there. And I'm telling you, pastor, and there's many articles, you can read them. Pastor is on many of these lists right near the top. And so you got to ask yourself, well, why is that? Why would a pastor need to take so much time off? Why is that the case? And so when you're a pastor, I'm telling you, man, I've been doing this for 30 years. And while of course we should never have an excuse and we should never complain. And, we got into this because of the call of the Lord and we're in it to die and surrender and take up our cross. And so it's not about just trying to find some luxurious life. It's not about that at all. So we understand what we're getting into when we sign up. However, the challenges are real. And if you want the pastor and his family to be healthy, if you want the kids to be saved or stay saved, you want the church itself to be healthy, then we need to talk about some of this because there are a lot of very unhealthy churches and very unhealthy pastors. We're going to look at some statistics in a moment. There's suicidal pastors out there. There's all sorts of stuff that's going on. But you start thinking about, why is it so difficult to be a pastor? There's many, many, many reasons, including pastors are always supposed to have it all together. So honestly, oftentimes you are having to, I don't want to say fake it because I don't think you should do that. I think we need to be vulnerable, but there's pressure. There's pressure for pastors to look like they have it all together. They're not allowed to struggle. They're not allowed to be depressed. They're not allowed to have fear. They're not allowed to have anxiety. They're not allowed to, maybe be on medication in terms of anxiety pills and things like that. And they're supposed to look like they have it all together. So a lot of their energy is spent trying to look like that, right? Other reasons, pastors are on call 24/7, and it's nonstop. In fact, we were just at this retreat, and in the very beginning of the retreat, the leader there, who had been a pastor for many, many years, and now he's in another ministry position, and he found out that a good friend of his died. And so there he was dealing with the emotional struggle and trauma and difficulty regarding that, while he's also having to stay locked into ministry. And he did. He sure did. And I asked if he was doing all right, and he said he was, and he pushed through. But that doesn't mean the stress wasn't there. Doesn't mean that the emotional, just the wrestling match wasn't there while you're still trying to put on ministry to minister, right? And so, you're on call 24/7. So you don't get to, compartmentalize your life, and anything and everything happens any time of the day. Pastors also, some other issues. There's nonstop in many ways, in many seasons, schisms and struggles and dealing with people and people that are not happy, and people that are leaving the church, and others that are testing their leadership, and others who are, on and on and on. So you're dealing with people issues. And of course, again, you sign up for it. I get that. But again, it's a stress, having to deal with these types of issues in the church. You think of, there's other professions that do that as well. You look at teachers; they're dealing in a different way with students all day. You've got other types of professions that are dealing with complaints nonstop. It's a stress. It really is. You have pastors who are given leadership, and their decisions are challenged, and people don't like the way that things are going, but other people do like the way things are going, and so some are glad and some are sad, and having to deal with that and having to play politician, and so you've got that going on. You're dealing with all sorts of scrutiny and finger pointing, and pastors have to be theologians, and if depending on their theology, and you've got some people that don't like that, and they challenge their approach to scripture. There's what about, again, the family, pastors' kids, there's a stigma there regarding our pastors' kids even going to be saved, when they leave the house, and it's a very real thing. Are they going to be in love with Jesus? Or, often that's not the case. And often, the idea of ministry is so traumatic to not only pastors' kids, but wives and others, that they don't want anything to do with ministry because it's so damaging to the family. You have pastors' wives who are, there's pastors' wives support groups out there where they're put into just very difficult positions, and they're having to support their husband while other people are trying to get at him through her, and on and on and on. So you've got all that going on. These days, there's no honor really with pastors and leaders, and like there used to be, and it's negative, and there's all sorts of finger pointing, and you're just in it for the money, which that's hilarious, right? For most people, that's a crazy thought. So you've got that, and then bring up the money. Most pastors don't make anywhere near the type of money that would support a family and encourage them to take breaks and vacations and just do normal things like normal Americans even. And so able to buy a new car or to move into a new home or these types of things. Very often that's not possible, right? And so there, we could go on and on and on, and there's a lot of reasons why there's so much struggle amongst pastors and in those who are in ministry. And so I wrote an article on this. I want to point you toward it. Just go to burton.tv/articles, and you can search for the title, which is Burnout, Are American Pastors Too Busy? According to Barna, 1/3 of pastors are considering quitting. 1 in 5 have considered self-harm or suicide within the past year. Suicide, because the job of pastor is so difficult, and I was talking to a former pastor recently, and he was talking about how he desperately needed to take a sabbatical. He knew he needed that. Just emotionally, he was burning out. He was completely just out of energy, and he needed a break. And he wanted to take a 6-week sabbatical, 6 weeks. And, some sabbaticals are a year, but he just wanted 6 weeks. And so he takes it to the board, and several on the board were arguing, well, who do you think you are that you should get some extra vacation time? And they actually thought he was campaigning for extra vacation time. This is the madness that's out there. And so they were opposed to him taking a sabbatical. It ended up going to a vote to the church, and he barely won approval to take a sabbatical, 6 weeks. And he's burnt out, just absolutely burnt out. And he goes on a sabbatical, 6 weeks, returns to the church. Well, in the time that he was gone, more people rose up against him and determined that he should not have had that sabbatical and he's not worthy of that. And so right in that moment, he was telling me the story. Right in that moment, he quit. He resigned. He was done. 40 years of ministry over in a moment because of burnout. Because of burnout. I'm telling you what, boards and congregations, it's time to pay up. You have got to pay to ensure that your pastor and the family are well taken care of and are able to take regular breaks. And no, being a pastor is not the same as most professions. It's just not. And again, 1 in 5 have considered self-harm or suicide within the past year. 1/3 are considering quitting. And so absolutely, we need to see sabbaticals become normal. I told our ministry here, Revival X in Branson, Missouri, that this is the 3rd ministry we have launched, and we're going to do things different. And I am in no way trying to play the game. I have no interest in just trying to build a big church and to make everybody happy. We are going to do this honestly as the Lord leads on our terms, and we're going to focus on our family. We're going to focus on refreshing. We're going to do that. We're going to be gone a lot, and I'm not going to apologize for that. We're going to take breaks. We're going to travel. We do have interests beyond just ministry. Newsflash, have you ever thought that maybe the pastor of your church has other interests outside of just ministry, where maybe he would love to devote 10% of his time to travel? It's what our family does. We travel a lot, and we don't apologize for that. Why? It's something else that's part of our life. We also own a business. That's something else, and we enjoy it. It's a part of our life. We do that, right? And so all of my energy, as much as I absolutely love the ministry and I'm called to it, right? And God's working through that. It's not the only thing in my life. It's simply not. And so I have told our leadership team that be ready in a moment's notice to run with this thing, to give leadership, to preach, to make the thing run, because Revival X is an important thing for us, but it's not the only thing. And we are going to give attention to other things in our lives. It's not only about the ministry. It's just not. And I'm telling you, being at Sunscape this past week was so unbelievably refreshing, incredible. On a Barna website, I got this little snippet here for you. Henry Nouwen famously characterized the role of pastor as being a wounded healer. This perspective underscores the importance of congregants, church staff, and others actively supporting their spiritual leaders. Such care acknowledges that a pastor's resilience and well-being are fundamental not only to their personal lives, but also to the health of the communities they serve. And so man, being away at Sunscape, relaxing by the fire. Pikes Peak was just outside the window, had a hot tub under the stars, right? With the snow everywhere. And it was beautiful. And we took time to play. Amy and I did, when between sessions, we went to a wolf center and saw wolves there that were being cared for, and took scenic drives and went and played an escape game, and went out to lunch and walked through quaint little towns and did all sorts of things. It was just so much fun and so relaxing. And it's important that we do that. We must rest and we must play. One of the things that Amy and I have noticed, and I'd love to hear from you on this, is most adults don't really know how to play. They don't know how to play. They're very serious. Their idea of taking a break is sitting down and watching TV, maybe going out to dinner, maybe going to a movie, and that's it. But where's the play, right? One of the reasons we love living in Branson, Missouri is we are always playing all the time. And we have Silver Dollar City right here, the #1 theme park in the nation, right? Voted by USA Today. And I'm there all the time, multiple times a week. And I'll take my laptop there and I'll do work from there. But it's play. And I'm watching people have fun. I'm watching people on the rides and chatting with folks and having a good time. It's Christmas season now. It's incredible out there at Christmas, like 6 million lights, or I don't know how many lights nowadays, millions of lights out there. And we'll just walk around and we'll enjoy that. We'll go to the shows, the Christmas shows, and we play. We do play. We're always thinking about what can we do for entertainment. Now, understand, and some of you are thinking about how just terrible, and how just unspiritual that is. Listen, we are body, soul, and spirit. Our soul has been ignored for too long. We need to be childlike. The leaders of our Sunscape, of our retreat there, and there were 3 couples plus the leaders plus support staff, and an amazing experience. And they were talking about how it's important for them to play. And they got Harleys, him and his wife, and they took a month and they just rode up and down the California coast and in different places, and they went camping and that they played, and it was refreshing to their soul. I think we need to learn how to play. One of the things that we learned at Sunscape was Sabbath. It means rest, but it also means celebration. Sabbath is not just it's not supposed to be a burden. It's supposed to lift burdens. Sometimes I think about the Sabbath thing. Well, you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this and you can't do that. No, Sabbath is rest, it's rejuvenation, and it's celebration. It's a party. It's joy. It's enjoyment, right? We should be living a Sabbath life and playing and celebrating and, ensuring we're not burning out and fading and emotionally dying. This is not a Sunday plan of action. It's every day. And oh, by the way, Sunday is not Sabbath for your pastor. You got to know that. Are you making sure that your pastor has play days that are not Sundays? And it's not it's not really Monday either. Monday is one of the most stressful days for a pastor. It's the day that they want to quit more than any other day. It's the day that they have to deal with all the arrows that have been shot into their back. It's the day that they analyze all of the failures from Sunday and who wasn't there, and they feel like a failure, just a personal failure, and why wasn't so and so there. And if you don't show up to church, you got to know it just wrecks your pastor, and very often it does. And what's going on there, and what happened to the giving, and are we going to be able to pay the bills? And we didn't bring enough money in, and and of course you're going to say, oh, you just need to trust the Lord. Yeah, I get that, I understand that, but guess what? We are emotional beings, and dealing with the stresses. Yes, we as pastors and leaders, we need to learn how to do that. There's a way to do that, but that doesn't remove the fact that we've got to deal with that. It's stressful even just to try to deal with it, right? It's stressful to try to remove the stress, and it's a whole process, and so the idea here is we need to discover what it is to play. We need to schedule fun on the calendar. Play with your kids. date nights with your spouse. I mean, all the time. This should be just part of your life. Always, always, always. And don't apologize to anyone, pastors and leaders, if you're doing this. It's time to confront the ridiculous burnout culture in the church. It's time. We need preventative maintenance in our lives. The threat of depression and fatigue and disillusionment and health issues and emotional crashes and relational crisis and even more severe consequences like heart attacks and marital affairs and suicide. And all of this demands our immediate attention, And yeah, I'm talking about pastors, I'm talking about leaders, but guess what? Every one of us needs to deal with the stress in our life. All of us need to play. All of us need to laugh a lot. All of us need to have we need to stop being so serious all the time, right? We need to schedule retreats like the one that my wife and I just went on. Absolutely incredible. Go on retreats, raise the money if you have to do that. Church boards, pay the money to send your pastors and leaders on retreats. Not just a weekend. Get them out for a week, for multiple times a year. Let them get out and take a sabbatical 1 month per year. There's a leader that I knew every January, he was gone. Every January. That was nobody contacted him. It was as if he did not exist. And he would travel for a month, a year, every year. And then you also have different weekends that you're out. You have different weeks that you're out. You're going to retreats. You're involving yourself in playtime. You're involving yourself in other hobbies, other focuses. And it's time that we find the balance. Churches, you got to invest the money in your pastor. Invest the money. Don't add another burden to them. Don't say, hey, yeah, you can take some time off, but you got to pay for it all yourself. Don't do that. Give them a gift. It's time that we learn how to honor pastors, ministry leaders again. We've lost that. We've really lost that. There's some churches out there that are amazing, at even Pastor Appreciation Month and celebrating pastors. And again, we got to remember that the stress of leadership is so intense that something like a Pastor Appreciation Day, where people are just blessing them and encouraging them and writing them notes and giving them gifts and supporting them and sharing how much, they mean to them, that does more than you will ever imagine. We're talking about the health of the church. Do you want a healthy church or an unhealthy church? You want a healthy pastor or an unhealthy pastor? Pastor Appreciation Month. They gave us a book, or they recommended a book rather. Or they might have given it to us. I'll have to check. And they gave us several resources. But it was a book on how to encourage your church to celebrate pastors and leaders. And, they took a little time to talk about it. And they said, this sounds very self-serving. It feels self-serving. Well, I want you to celebrate me, or, of course it sounds self-serving, but you have to, he was sharing how you need to communicate the purpose. It's when your pastors and your leaders, when they're healthy, emotionally healthy, uplifted, encouraged, when they're at peace, when they have energy, when they have joy, when they have strength, when all of that's going on, the church will thrive. And so you have to cast that vision. It's very, very, very important to do that. And, we're living in a day and an age when people hate pastors. I'm telling you, they can't stand them. So many, there's an anti-leader movement out there. There's all sorts of finger pointing and how pastors are in it for themselves and they're selfish and they don't care and their theology is bad and their leadership is bad and they're gossiped about. And, after, you wonder why pastors crash and burn on Mondays is because they know the church is talking about them gossiping after a Sunday service, and so it really does happen. Does it happen in every church? No, there's churches out there that have a culture of honor. They do it well. They shut the gossip down, right? They uphold, they uplift, they encourage, and so that's out there, and that's good. But even in those environments, the stresses of leadership are so intense that the pastors need to be given freedom, especially the senior pastor, given freedom to travel, to play, to enjoy their life, to enjoy their family, to involve themselves in other hobbies, to recreation. They've got to be healthy. And so just wanted to encourage you in this. Again, check out the article. It's titled Burnout, Are American Pastors Too Busy? Go to burton.tv, just do a search, and you will find that article there. But love to hear from you. What do you think about this? You can contact me from the website as well, burton.tv or revivalx.tv. I would love to hear from you. What have you gone through? Are you like this pastor that I talked to that after 40 years of ministry, because of burnout, he quit? He just quit when the church wouldn't support him, even in his very simple request to take 6 weeks as to regroup and to refresh, and they wouldn't even support him in that. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about all this? But in the meantime, I pray that God blesses you like crazy. Let the fire of the Spirit of God rage in you and through you. I pray you would learn to play. You would laugh. You would have a dance in your step. You would be involved in activities and things that would bless your family, and your family would be strong. I pray all of that over you. And I just pray that God would do wonders in your life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for listening to Revival X with John Burton. You can access media, read articles, and partner with the ministry at revivalx.tv. And share this podcast with those who are hungry for revival, reformation, and revolution.